A master read my stepsisters and my fortunes. He said she was a lucky star, and I was a walking disaster. But I've been reborn, and this time, I know it was all a conspiracy between the master and my stepmother. They wanted to steal my good fortune and give it to my stepsister, but I secretly altered the magic talisman. Soon my stepsister's face started getting uglier and uglier. My stepmother was plagued by non-stop bad luck. And me? I just kept getting prettier. Turns out, feeding on someone else's good fortune feels amazing. The master was holding court on our living room sofa, proclaiming that I was a once-in-a-generation disaster. He said anyone who spent too much time with me would have their life cut short. He suggested either sending me away, or using a talisman to alter my fate. My dad broke out in a cold sweat. He said he couldn't bear to send me away after raising me for 10 years. Then he begged the master for the fate-altering talisman. The master sighed dramatically, finally agreeing to draw the charm after my father gave him $20,000. He even borrowed some good fortune from my kind-hearted stepmother and stepsister, a charm written in their blood. He claimed their combined luck would suppress my bad energy, allowing me to grow up safely. After drawing the talisman, the master was exhausted and needed to rest in one of our guest rooms. My dad had someone show him to a room. My stepsister, Ashley, brought the talisman to me personally. "Zoe, you have to hold on to this tight," she said. "From now on, everything will go smoothly for you. Maybe you and Cole will even get your happily ever after." I took it, my voice filled with emotion. "Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Ashley. I'll never forget how much you've done for me." My dad, seeing us sisters getting along so well, was relieved. A phone call pulled him away for work. I went into my room, slammed the talisman on my desk, and spat on it. Only in my past life would I have believed the lies of that venomous mother-daughter duo. They ended up ruining half my life. It wasn't until my own luck was completely drained that I met my true master. She taught me about the spiritual arts and helped me understand that I'd been cursed. And the source of that curse was this very fate-altering talisman from the master. It did alter fates. All right, it funneled all my good luck straight to that mother and daughter. Now, I picked up the cinnabar ink I had prepared and began altering the characters on the paper. When I finished, I pressed my bloody thumbprint at the bottom. The counter charm was complete. I tucked the talisman away safely on my person, then pulled up the feed from the hidden camera. The feed was from the master's guest room. A man and a woman were wrapped in a desperate embrace, tearing at each other's clothes. "Don't you worry," the master said. "That little brat has more than enough luck to spare. As you slowly absorb it, you'll become even more beautiful, and your own luck will be off the charts." My stepmother, Brenda, cooed. "What about my daughter? Will she get lucky too?" "Of course. She'll grow up to be a total knockout." After they finished talking, they tumbled onto the bed. I recorded the whole thing, watching with great interest. I wondered what my clueless dad would think when he saw this scene. In my past life, as I grew uglier and my luck soured, he grew more and more distant. But after I died, he still left me a large sum of money. He never truly wronged me. All my misfortune came from this mother-daughter duo. Now, I was going to slowly watch them descend into hell. The action on screen was getting intense, and I was starting to get bored. I left my room. My stepsister, who was a month younger than me, came over and said timidly, "Zoe, the school camping trip is coming up. I was wondering if I could borrow some casual clothes from you. I don't have as many outfits as you do. I actually don't have many everyday clothes at all." You'd think my dad had cut her allowance. She just wanted to get something from me for free. "Ashley, how can you say that? I can't let you wear my old clothes. You should go buy your own. I'll have the driver take you. But I'm scared to go by myself. Can you come with me, Zoe? You know I grew up in a small town. I've never been to a big mall like this before." Her damsel in distress act was truly pitiful. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from grimacing. There was a reason I fell for it in my past life. Who wouldn't feel sorry for a girl looking so helpless? But I wasn't falling for it this time. I took out my phone and transferred $1,000 to her. "My tutor is about to arrive, so you and Mom should go. I just saw her go into the master's room. I think they're discussing something important. Why don't you go get her?" Okay then. A smug smile spread across Ashley's face. She was clearly satisfied with having scammed $1,000 out of me. But the thought of what she was about to walk in on made me feel practically giddy. Ashley went upstairs, and a moment later, a piercing scream echoed through the house. Don't ask me. All I know is that I accidentally broke the lock on that door earlier. The thought that I had it all on video made me even happier. But to see them truly suffer, I had to keep playing my part for a little while longer. The tutor my dad hired for me arrived, and I settled into the study to work. My stepmother came in, asking awkwardly if I had seen anything just now. No, I was downstairs meeting my tutor. Did something happen in the house? It's nothing. You just focus on your studies. She turned and left. Soon after, our entire household staff was inexplicably replaced. My stepsister did end up going shopping, but she fell into an open manhole while she was at the mall. The same thing happened to me in my past life. So unlucky. Everyone else walked right over it without a problem, but the moment I stepped on the manhole cover, it flipped over. When she came home, her face was bruised and swollen. It was obvious she had fallen much harder than I did. I gasped in feigned shock. What happened? You look terrible. And that smell, you should probably stay home for a while. If Cole smelled that on you, he might be totally grossed out. The moment I said that, Ashley burst into tears. She had a little crush on my childhood friend, Cole, and his birthday was tomorrow. She had been planning to make her move, playing the part of the perfect, caring friend who just happened to show up. Now that was impossible. In my past life, she used Cole's birthday to make a huge impression on my neighbors with her unique, pitiful act. And that man, Cole, created so much trouble for me just to defend her, becoming her knight in shining armor. This time, I was going to take away her trump card right from the start. As for fighting over him? No thanks. Who wants someone else's trash? Now that my stepsister's luck had turned, it was my stepmother's turn. My counter-charm was powerful, especially after we made physical contact. Today, I helped my stepmother make some cakes and pastries. She wanted to bring them over to the neighbors to show off. Having just married into the family, she was desperate to fit in with the other wealthy wives. While we were baking, I played the part of a daughter starved for motherly love, accidentally touching her several times. I wonder when her karma will arrive. We carried the small cakes and desserts over to our neighbor's house. Cole Ford's parents welcomed us warmly. Cole was playing with his friends and pretended not to see me when I arrived. My stepmother immediately put on a radiant smile and presented the desserts. The servants took them, and she put on her most helpless, innocent act. I'm so sorry, the gift is a bit modest. I didn't know what to get, so I just prepared something handmade. I hope young Mr. Ford likes it. By acting humble in front of these powerful people, she thought she could quickly integrate. No matter their reasons for accepting her, at least she'd become a familiar face. Unfortunately for her, today was destined to be a disappointment. Hey Brenda, what's that on the back of your neck? Why is there a red patch? I had noticed it back in the kitchen, but I'd waited until this moment to say anything. Everyone turned to look at her neck. There was indeed a red, inflamed patch covered in tiny blisters. No matter how you looked at it, it was disgusting. I backed away in horror. It's not contagious, is it? I covered my mouth, my eyes welling with tears as I looked fearfully at the people around us. Their expressions changed instantly, and they all silently took several steps back. But that wasn't nearly enough. Brenda, didn't you used to work at a bar? You didn't catch some kind of disease there, did you? I was just a child, and children tell the truth without any filter. But the adults could read between the lines. They naturally assumed my stepmother's condition might not be an innocent one. With that, everyone moved even farther away. Mrs. Ford pulled me aside and whispered that I should stay away from my stepmother from now on. Just then, the butler opened the door, and my stepsister appeared, dressed like a little princess. She was holding a beautifully wrapped gift. Oblivious to the mood in the room, she ran straight to Cole and said cheerfully, "Cole, this is for you." I worked on it for several nights. Kids are sensitive to adults' emotions. Sensing that everyone disliked my stepmother, Cole took a step back. Then a little girl suddenly covered her nose and waved her hand. What's that awful smell? It's like something's rotting. Ashley's face fell. I quickly walked over and helpfully explained. No, you've got it all wrong. It's not my sister's gift that's gone bad. It's just that she accidentally fell into a sewer yesterday, and the smell kind of stuck to her. She's taken a bunch of showers already. I told her not to come, but she really wanted to be here for Cole's birthday. At the word sewer, the kids shrieked and scattered. In an instant, my stepmother and stepsister became the main event at the party, and not in a good way. They were both beautiful and had never been treated like this before. Now, scorned by everyone, one burst into tears while the other burned with humiliation. My stepmother slapped my stepsister. I told you not to come, but you wouldn't listen. Now you've embarrassed us both. Let's go. They scurried away in disgrace. I, on the other hand, curtsied in my little dress and said in a sweet childish voice, I'm so sorry, everyone. My aunt and my sister were very rude just now and ruined the mood. On behalf of my father, I sincerely apologize. Who doesn't love a polite, well-behaved child? Mrs. Ford certainly did. She insisted I stay and play with the other kids. I sat there, hugging a teddy bear and coolly observing Cole and the others. For the first time, he was trying to be nice to me, a complete reversal from my past life. Too bad. I had no interest in a guy who was so blind and heartless. Finally, the party ended, and Mrs. Ford and Cole personally walked me home. Our houses were right next to each other, so it was just a polite gesture. But the moment I opened my front door, my dad rushed forward and slapped me across the face. I was small, and the force of the blow sent me flying. I staggered to my feet, but I was so dizzy that I fell again, my forehead hitting the corner of a table. Blood started to trickle down my face. He's killing her. Mrs. Ford shoved my dad aside and screamed, her usual composure gone. She immediately called 911 and the police. Now things were really getting interesting. My dad, a big-shot CEO, never imagined he'd be hauled down to the police station for domestic abuse. His face was thunderous. Mrs. Ford gave the police a full account of his actions and defended me passionately. Your daughter was just defending your family's reputation, apologizing to everyone for those two women's behavior, and making you look good. And what did you do? You listened to their lies and laid a hand on your own child. My dad's face flushed with shame. With the help of the police, he finally learned the full story. He came over to where I sat, looking miserable, and apologized. Dad, I whispered, I just want to know why you hit me. I didn't do anything wrong. Hearing this, his face grew even darker. He patted my head and said, I'll get you justice. He paid the fine and thanked Mrs. Ford. Unexpectedly, Cole, who had barely spoken to me in my past life, chimed in. You're pathetic, letting two horrible women bully you like that. I lowered my head and said softly, my aunt and sister are really good to me. Please don't say bad things about them. Mrs. Ford sighed and finally pulled her son away. In their eyes, I must have seemed like a simple-minded fool, just like in my previous life. As soon as my dad got home, he confronted my stepmother, demanding to know why she blamed me when they were the ones who had made a scene, while I had been the one apologizing to the guests. My stepmother burst into tears, a truly heart-wrenching performance. She kept saying it was all a misunderstanding and begged me to forgive her. But her eyes were fixed on my dad the whole time. In her mind, a little girl like me was no threat at all. I sat dejectedly on the sofa and suddenly felt something in the cushions. I pulled out a cell phone. I was wondering where my phone went. So it ended up here. I instinctively unlocked the screen, and a conversation between my stepmother and stepsister started playing. Stepmother, how could you be so shameless? Why did you have to go and embarrass us at the Ford's party? Do you think the young master of that family would care about your pathetic little gift? What a waste of the dress I bought you. You should have at least doused yourself in perfume before you went. Stepsister, I did. I even snuck into that little bitch Zoe's room and used her best perfume, but it didn't work. It's all that little bitch's fault. If she had taken me, I could have just said the smell was coming from her. Now Cole hates me. What am I going to do? Stepmother, we absolutely cannot let that bitch get engaged to the Fords, or there will be no place for us in this family. You need to get rid of that smell and start spreading rumors at school that the little bitch is easy. Get the Ford boy to be your friend, you understand? I widened my eyes, fighting back a smile until they were red. My dad, on the other hand, gasped for air and fumbled in his pocket for his medication. I certainly couldn't let him die. I rushed over, got his pills, put them in his mouth and sobbed. Dad, please don't blame my aunt and my sister. Maybe they just don't like me, but they still love you. They love your money, your house, your cars. They call your daughter a little bitch. What does that make you? My stepmother and stepsister stood there like two frozen quail, not daring to say a word. Sometimes, you just have to play a little dirty. Otherwise, you'll never win against a pair like this. My dad looked at my stepmother and stepsister, then swung his hand and slapped my stepmother across the face. She immediately dropped to her knees, clinging to his leg and wailing. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I was just trying to comfort my daughter, to make her feel a little better. I've been treating Zoe like my own daughter these days, and Ashley felt a little left out. I'll never make a mistake like this again. How did this woman beat out all the others to become my stepmother? Simple. She's beautiful, she's a great actress, and she has absolutely no shame when it comes to pleasing a man. I didn't want them kicked out just yet. After all, how could the show go on without them? Brenda has been very good to me, I said, but what you both did really hurt my feelings. Dad, just cancel their credit cards and allowances as punishment. I gave them an out. My dad loves being placated, so he reluctantly agreed, for my sake, to cut off their funds. And just like that, the matter was closed. That evening, my stepmother made a huge dinner for me, deliberately ignoring her own daughter. She even made Ashley apologize to me, promising she would never be jealous of me again. After a night of my stepmother diligently serving my father, the house seemed to be peaceful and happy once more. But my stepmother and stepsister's luck was only going to get worse. Today was Ashley's first day at my elite private school. She was dressed to the nines, looking cute and charming, hoping to make a good first impression on the students. At least, that's how it went in my past life. She was a good student, pretty, and had a great personality, so she quickly became the center of attention. But not this time. Because this time, I was going to try. In my past life, I only found some peace after meeting my master late in life. But I knew that with an empty head, I couldn't do anything. No employer would hire me. So I had to study. It might just be elementary school, but I was going to be the top student. As for my stepsister, I didn't even have to lift a finger. Just as she was about to introduce herself to the class, she tripped on the high threshold of the classroom door and went down in a clumsy faceplant, her underwear on full display. A few of the boys whistled, and everyone else burst out laughing. I walked over to help her up. This class has a pretty high bar for entry, I said. You'll have to work a lot harder to get in, stepsister. The word stepsister, instead of sister, immediately clued everyone in on her status. She started to cry, her mouth full of blood. Her luck was truly terrible. The fall had knocked out one of her teeth. Even I couldn't help but let out a laugh. In the end, she spent her first day of school at the dentist's office instead of in class. That same day, we had a practice test, and I easily took first place in the class. My sudden jump from the bottom of the rankings to the top even prompted a chat with my homeroom teacher. I put on a mature act and said with a wry smile, before it was just me at home, so I didn't feel the need to study. But now, my family situation is very complicated. I have to work hard now. The teacher, who knew about my father's remarriage, expressed her sympathy and encouraged me to keep up the good work. By the time my stepsister returned to class, I had already stolen her academic spotlight. No one paid her any attention. I even snagged the position of class academic representative, which she had held in our past life. I organized a study group and slipped focus-enhancing talismans into the notebooks of everyone who joined. As a result, every member's grades shot up. Even Cole jumped from the top 20 to the top 10. The parents of these students were all wealthy local businesspeople and socialites, and their opinion of me soared. Sometimes, connections are essential for survival. Now, if my stepmother and stepsister ever tried to harm me again, any one of these families would be willing to help out, if only for their children's sake. My stepsister timidly approached me and whispered, "Zoe, can I join your study group? I can make snacks and lunch for everyone, and I can help you with your homework." I immediately stood up and called her out. "How could you suggest something so corrupt? Our job as students is to study. Everyone here has maids and cooks, that's their job. You can't take it from them. And helping with homework? Homework is our own responsibility. If you do it for someone, you're only hurting them, not helping." In our last life, this was exactly how she won people over, and some students really fell for it. But now that I'd framed what she was doing as the work of servants, everyone started looking at her with contempt. Cole was even harsher. "Get lost," he said. "Don't interrupt our studying. If I make it into the top 5, my dad promised to buy me a yacht." I shot him an envious look. How nice. No matter how well I do in school, my dad would never reward me with anything like that. Lately, someone at his company must have praised me, because all he did was increase my allowance. Ugh, my dad only gave me a $2 million allowance. How am I supposed to spend all that? I said it for my stepsister's benefit, since she hadn't gotten a single penny lately. But why was everyone looking at me with such pity? Do they get more allowance than me? The teacher had already come in. She gave my stepsister a cold look and said, "Go back to your seat and focus on your studies. Your grades may be good, but you are not to disrupt the class's enthusiasm for learning." My stepsister sniffled and returned to her seat. From that day on, she became a ghost in the classroom. Then one day during a break, a female classmate said to her, "Have you been tanning lately? How are you getting so dark?" She had only been in the class for a month, but her complexion had become progressively darker and more sallow, and she was breaking out. Acne usually starts in middle school, so she was a bit early. In a crowd of smooth, pale faces, she stood out. I noticed it too and tilted my head to look at her. "Ashley, are you using some kind of cheap skincare? You should really get your face treated, or you'll turn into a monster." My stepsister, once again, was driven to tears. These were just some of the minor things I endured in my past life. They siphoned my luck, making my appearance uglier and my mood fouler. Now the backlash had begun in earnest. I was in a great mood. After watching my stepsister cry over her own reflection, I came home to find that just as my stepmother's neck sores had healed, she'd developed a severe case of athlete's foot. She spent her days on the sofa, scratching her feet incessantly. My dad, apparently unable to tolerate a beautiful woman scratching her feet, was spending less and less time at home, cozying up with his young secretary. How pitiful. I sent her the photos I'd had someone take of my dad and his secretary from a new, untraceable number. My foot-scratching stepmother's face was flushed with irritation. "You're back. Go eat." Then she glanced at her phone and shot to her feet. "That little fox. I knew she was after your father. You two eat at home, I'll be right back." She called her friends and stormed out to confront the other woman. I had no doubt she would return defeated. My dad is a very impulsive man. My own mother had suffered at his hands. What chance did this woman have, with no money or power of her own, completely dependent on him? As soon as she was gone, my expression turned icy. I treated my stepsister like she was invisible, ignoring her completely. "Zoe, do you want to go over to Cole's house? I knitted him a scarf. Could you take it to him for me?" She tried to look sweet and gentle, but her face was now so ugly it was hard to look at. My mouth twitched. "Stop smiling at me, it's really creepy. And besides, your precious Cole said he misses you. You should take it to him yourself. Oh, and you should probably use some foundation. You look so awful." A girl her age using my stepmother's foundation would surely be a sight to behold. The moment Ashley heard that Cole missed her, she happily ran into my stepmother's room and used up half the bottle of foundation. She asked me how she looked. I almost spat out the milk tea I was drinking. "You look very pale. You should wear a white dress and let your hair down. It'll be even cuter." My stepsister tilted her head, considering my advice, but didn't follow it completely. She changed into a white dress but pulled her hair into a tight ponytail. She looked halfway decent, then she left. She didn't seem to consider that it was already getting dark. Her appearance was passable in daylight, but at night, it was downright terrifying. I stood at the far left window of our mansion, watching the Ford's house through a pair of night vision binoculars. Ashley's luck was terrible. She arrived at their gate just as Mrs. Ford and Cole were returning from his tutoring session. She ran up to them as they got out of the car. Mrs. Ford fainted on the spot. Cole actually hit my stepsister, waving his hand and telling her to get lost. I laughed so hard my sides hurt. Just as I finished enjoying Ashley's little drama, my stepmother returned, crying, her face bruised and swollen, looking utterly dejected. Then, she made a phone call to the master. Excellent. It was time to deal with that scumbag. The master arrived quickly. He was stunned when he saw my stepmother's current state, and then he called me downstairs. My dad trusted this master completely, so he held a high status in our home. Even the servants respected him. He acted like he owned the place. After looking me over, he smiled and took my hand. Miss Zoe has a very auspicious palm reading. You're destined for great wealth and honor. He began drawing a symbol on my hand, trying to probe whether my good fortune was still intact. I sneered inwardly, trying to conceal my energy levels. But then I realized a problem. My current spiritual power was too shallow. I had forgotten that a child's body, without proper cultivation, was significantly weaker. On top of that, this man had clearly absorbed a great deal of luck from others, and had become quite powerful. I could only hide a fraction of my energy before he noticed. He stared at me, his voice stiff. The talisman I gave you last time, have you been keeping it with you? Of course. May I see it? I agreed and went upstairs to get it. With a quick swipe of my hand, I distorted the characters on the paper. When I handed it to him, I explained that I had accidentally left it near a wall, and it had gotten damp during the rains a few days ago. As powerful as the master was, he couldn't see through a child's lie. He believed me instantly and wrote a new one. This time, he used blood from my stepmother, my stepsister, and himself. I gritted my teeth. This man was truly malicious. He had seen how deep my reserves of fortune were, and planned for the three of them to suck me dry. It seemed I couldn't beat him on my own. After he left, I told my family I was going to the library, but instead headed straight for a small, secluded spiritual retreat far from the city. My master was there. I hadn't wanted to disturb her peaceful cultivation, but the moment she saw me, a smile flickered across her otherwise plain face. You've come, my student, in 2 lifetimes. Master, you knew? As I said it, tears began to well up in my eyes. My master nodded and gently stroked my head. I foresaw it. I cannot defeat my senior apprentice, my husband, alone. We must do it together. My eyes widened. I had no idea the master was her husband. My master explained that years ago, she had married her fellow disciple, but he had stolen her fortune and fled the mountain. As a result, she was trapped here, sustained only by the spiritual energy of the mountain and water. If she left, she would die. To save her, they had to get a divorce. That's easy. I have a plan. Master, I will save you. I suddenly understood why, in my past life, my master had died in a car accident one day when she left the mountain to try and extend my life. She had risked death to save me. He is very powerful. You must be careful. Right now, he can only steal an individual's fortune. But in a few more days, he will be able to steal the fortune of an entire company, or even a country. We cannot let that happen. A chill went down my spine. I knew that in the future, that master did indeed associate with many powerful people, and became much more formidable. What happens when he steals their fortune? The company will go bankrupt. The country might suffer from disasters and hardship. So that was it. I had to stop him. I believed my master completely, because my own father's company had gone bankrupt, or rather, it had been taken over by 2 new owners. Wiping my tears, I smiled and bid my master farewell, then headed back down the mountain. Before going home, I made a point to play in the nearby woods, getting myself covered in mud. My stepmother was shocked when she saw me. What happened to you? I put on a wronged expression. I just tripped on flat ground and got all dirty. My stepmother couldn't hide the delight in her eyes. She had no idea I had already altered the new talisman. I was just putting on a show. Her bad luck would continue. After showering and changing, I came downstairs to find my stepmother had burned herself while trying to cook a meal to win back my dad. And my stepsister, devastated by her rejection from the Ford family, had locked herself in her room for 2 days. When she finally emerged today, she gave my stepmother another shock. The pimples on her face had somehow burst, and some were beginning to fester, looking absolutely horrifying. So she called the master again, telling him to come over immediately. This time, she would surely use every trick in the book to seduce him, since a direct confrontation was impossible. Soon they disappeared into the bedroom. Using a burner phone, I sent the compromising video I'd prepared earlier to my dad, adding a simple message. "They're in your room right now." My dad came home like a man on fire. My stepsister and I were reading in the living room. We stood up to greet him as he burst in. But he shoved my stepsister aside and stormed up the stairs. My stepsister, despite her age, somehow knew what was happening and that my dad shouldn't hear it. She screamed, "Mom, Dad's." I clapped a hand over her mouth and said coldly, "Say one more word, and I'll pop every single one of those pimples on your face." She was so scared she didn't make another sound. From upstairs, we heard the sound of a door being kicked in, followed by my dad's furious roar. The mansion's security guards were called up, and the master and my stepmother were dragged out, half naked, and forced to the ground. My stepsister was terrified and ran up to hug her mother, crying. I filmed the entire scene and uploaded it to the internet. I even thoughtfully included the master's name and my stepmother's identity. The web exploded. 2 prominent figures caught in a sordid scandal. I'm sure many wealthy businessmen were now wondering if their own wives had also been cheating on them. Once the story gained enough traction, it would force a swift divorce between my master and her husband. Originally, I just wanted to ruin him, but now, my master's freedom was part of the equation. My dad was absolutely furious. He had hit my stepmother and was demanding a divorce. But then the master suddenly looked up at me and said viciously, "It was you. How did you do it? This is a backlash. It's a backlash." I cowered in fear, hiding and whispering, What are you talking about? I don't know. I'm so scared." For once, my dad acted like a father. He had the maids take me back to my room and told me not to come out. Back in my room, I called a famous lawyer and had him handle my master's divorce proceedings. I transferred him $200,000, and he immediately agreed and headed to the spiritual retreat. With clear evidence of the husband's infidelity, my master could file for an immediate dissolution of the marriage. At least in this era before divorce cooling-off periods, that was possible. With a lawyer involved, the divorce could be finalized without the master even needing to be present. By the time I had arranged everything, the commotion outside had died down. I thought my dad would have them sent to prison, but he hadn't. When I came out, the master was busy pasting good luck charms all over our house, promising my dad it would bring him a windfall. My dad stood there with his hands on his hips and said, "If I don't strike it rich soon, I'll make sure you both suffer. If a story like this gets out, you'll have nowhere to hide. And you," he said to my stepmother, "I'm definitely divorcing you. You think you can cheat on me and get away with it? Not a chance." I knew it. This master was not to be underestimated. I glanced at the charms he was pasting up, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. They were indeed windfall charms, but they were the kind that traded life for money. Anyone living in the house would receive a huge sum of money within a few days, but they would pay for it with their lives. Panicked, I dropped my disguise and yelled, "Dad, make them stop. Those are life for wealth charms. If you put those up, you'll get a huge windfall within 3 days, but you'll die right after." My dad froze. Even though he didn't quite believe me, the words terrified him. He ordered the men to stop. The master was also stunned. After the charm was snatched from his hand, he pointed at me. "It really is you. You understand the spiritual arts." I dropped the act. "You so-called master are nothing but a charlatan," I said, pointing at him. "You think you're so powerful. If you hadn't been so greedy for my good fortune, would you be suffering this backlash? The 3 of you conspired to steal my family's wealth, slowly draining the luck from me and my dad. If I didn't know anything about spiritual arts, I'd be dead by now. So how does it feel? How does the backlash feel? Sometimes, if you don't show your hand, your opponent won't make a move. Sure enough, the master didn't try anything else. He didn't know the extent of my abilities. My dad's jaw dropped and he stammered. Dad, aren't you going to send them to prison? Right. My dad finally did as I said, and they were charged. But I knew that with the crimes they were accused of, they wouldn't stay in prison for long. That master had absorbed too much luck from others. But if he got divorced, it would break his fortune, and only then would he truly be punished. My stepsister started tugging at my dad's hand. Daddy, I didn't do anything wrong. You used to love me the most, remember? I crossed my arms and stared at her. You're so ugly. Why would my dad want you? To be a freeloader? Hearing this, my dad immediately shook her off. I'm sending you back to your old home. I'll support you until your mother gets out, but after that, we have nothing to do with each other. I don't want to go back. It's dirty and messy and cold there. I want to stay here. Get rid of her. I want to be your daughter. A child doesn't know how to hide her ambition. She just blurts out whatever is on her mind. My dad slapped her across the face. Get out, he roared. You disgusting thing. I smirked. In my past life, he was always calling her my darling daughter. Now he mercilessly had her dragged away. Then my dad came to me smiling. My dear daughter, who taught you all this spiritual stuff? Should we invite that master to come take a look at our house? That won't be necessary. My master prefers to keep a low profile. Dad, I hope next time you'll be able to tell the difference between a human and a demon before you bring them into our home. You almost got us all killed. I turned and went back to my room. Seeing the counter charm still glowing with power, I felt a sense of relief. A month later, my dad and stepmother were divorced. My stepsister was expelled from school, and it was as if no one even remembered she existed. If anyone did remember her, they just called her that ugly girl. As for my master and the charlatan, with the clear evidence of his affair, the divorce was finalized quickly. I was there that day and watched as my master, who had looked so weary, was instantly restored to her full vitality. She took a deep breath, stood up, and smiled at me. I want to go out. Will you take me down the mountain for a walk? I took my master's hand, and we spent the entire day out, shopping and buying whatever we wanted. It was fine. I was very rich now. I didn't have the chance in my past life, but in this one, making a little money for myself was easy. When we returned to the spiritual retreat, the master was there. He was beaten black and blue. It seemed he had cuckolded quite a few wealthy men. He was prostrating himself before my master, begging her to remarry him. Junior sister, my luck is broken. If I go out there, they'll beat me to death. Please, I'm begging you, save me. And this little girl, is she your disciple? Tell her to remove the counter charm. I've become a monster. The master lifted his head. His once handsome face was now covered in burst, festering pimples. Oh, so he had dreamed of being a handsome young man when he was borrowing my luck. My master looked down at him from her superior position. Senior brother, you have done too many wrong things. It is too late for regrets. You reap what you sow. I cannot save you now. Go. She dismissed him with an airy wave of her hand. But that master was truly shameless. I finally understood why my master had been forced to marry him in the first place. She wasn't thick-skinned enough. I called over the bodyguards I had brought with me and had them throw him out. I heard that less than 2 hours later, he died in a car accident. The moment he died, the first rain after a long drought began to fall over the city. The cool rain nourished all living things. My master smiled. The stolen fortune has returned. Everything can finally be restored. I didn't fully understand the significance of it all then, but from that moment on, I would often help my master with her work of helping people. I considered it accumulating good karma, not seeking any reward. Even after I went to college and took over my father's business, I would still occasionally go up to the mountains, put on my Taoist robes, and seek out people who had been harmed by unscrupulous spiritualists, helping them reclaim the lives that were rightfully theirs. Cole pursued me for a while, but I turned him down. In my past life, his self-centered nature was something I had seen clearly, and it disgusted me. No matter how outstanding he became, I could never bring myself to like him. Then one day, I saw my stepsister. She was in a state of utter destitution. She had reached a new level of ugliness. Though she was only in her 20s, she had the energy of someone in their 70s or 80s. "Master," she said, "I want to ask why I'm always so unlucky. For so many years, why do all sorts of skin diseases just randomly appear on me?" It seemed she didn't recognize me. I asked her, "And your mother?" "She was paralyzed last year. She was just walking down the street when something fell from a building and hit her." "Is that so? Do you still remember that time you and your mother conspired with a corrupt spiritualist to steal someone's fortune and ended up suffering a backlash?" After I said it, I smiled, a smile of pure satisfaction. Fate had been kind to me, allowing me to see the end of their story. Yes, this was the end. She didn't have a single shred of luck left. My stepsister went insane. Her eyes turned red as she stood up and shrieked, pointing at me. "It was you. It was you. You took everything from me. I'll get my revenge. I'll get my revenge." She lunged at me, but was restrained by my bodyguards. Not long after, she was admitted to the city's psychiatric hospital. She was locked away in there, and never came out again. The end.